Hey, what's up, YouTube? We back with another one. Back with another banger, guys. And this one, I know I always say it's gonna be crazy, but so far, I've never told you guys a lie yet. I mean, when I say it's crazy, it's really gonna be crazy. We got another banger for y'all. So, like I say, strap your seatbelts on, get comfortable, and relax and watch this joint. You're gonna love it. But before we get into the car, I gotta ask y'all, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, please. Need you to do that. Regular Guyz.Eregular on YouTube, and also follow me on Instagram. Regular Guyz.Eregular on Instagram. When you follow me on Instagram, you're going to be updated on the up and coming episodes. So make sure y'all follow me on that as well. So, that being said, I'm not gonna do this long spiel or anything like that. I'm gonna introduce you to the man of the hour, and we're just gonna get it in from there. Yes, sir.
How you doing, man?
My God, we made it down here to you, baby.
Thanks for coming.
I appreciate you having me. Definitely. So, I want to introduce the people. I want you to introduce yourself to the people and let them know what's your name, what city, what state you representing, and if you're down with any team, let them know that too.
All right. My name's Jeremy McCoy. I'm from Glassboro. I do represent the New Jersey Bimmer Club. What else you need to know?
Oh, you're from Glassboro.
Glassboro.
So let them know
We're here locally in Glassboro.
What
my
state
hometown.
is this? What state?
Oh, yeah. Don't let me forget Dirty Jersey. We're South Jersey, Glassboro, home of Rowan University.
Definitely.
My hometown.
Glassboro, New Jersey, y'all. South Jersey to be exact. That's where we at right now. We made it down.
Yes, thank you. These guys traveled long distances to come see us. I hope I don't disappoint.
You definitely didn't disappoint. And guys, you won't be disappointed either. That being said, let them know the year, make, and model of the vehicle we're going to see.
We are going to see a 2015 428i BMW. It used to be that.
Yo, make sure y'all take note. It used to be that. Alright, so because this channel is based on regular guys with irregular cars, I think it's very important to ask you, what do you do for a living? Because when people see the car, I want them to realize that this is very attainable. No matter what you do for a living, you can still make your dream car be your car in reality, basically. Right. So let the people know, what do you do for a living?
Yep, I am a general contractor in construction. I've always been heavy into building stuff, not as much turning wrenches, so I'm kind of later in the car game, and I really just had this vehicle as a daily that I went job site hopping. I usually cover the tri-state area, Jersey, PA, New York, Delaware, a little more than the tri-state, so I just got an efficient, fun to drive BMW when I went out shopping for something that I finally got myself out of my big cumbersome pickup. And it just so happens I got a job prior to COVID that really was going to require a flight budget. I was going to fly to Rochester, New York to cover the project. Okay. Then COVID landed.
Right.
So the project did want to continue. So at that point, I was faced with driving my vehicle, which at that point had pretty decent mileage. It was only 3 years old. And facing the inevitable high mileage scenario, I'm going to wear this car out. Where am I going to be at the end of the whole thing?
Right.
You know, holding the car with really no value.
Right.
That being the case, the money was right for the job, and I just figured, you know what, why not? So my give and take to the scenario was I took the budget that I had initially set up in the project to fly and stay in Rochester twice a week for 8 months and turn that back into the car to do what I wanted to, because really anything I've done to it, anybody would tell you is ridiculous. But you know what, there was no value in the car anymore, so I made it what I want, and I built something that I enjoyed, you know, on the daily. But I am late to the game, and you bring up like how long and the, you know, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I go to a lot of meets, and what I realize is there's one thing, like I can get along with a guy who's 20 who's going through the exact same same stuff that I went through in the last. It doesn't matter if you're in a car game, you're going through the same headaches. Exactly. Everybody can relate. At different stages in life, it may take you a little longer to save for stuff early in life. Mm-hmm. You know, you may not have the better job, but the reality is you go through the same hopping from different shops, trying to figure out who can do what, you know, the headaches and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool now having this car, you know, I really try to get out there on the scene, and I do shows probably three weekends a month.
3 weekends a month.
Yeah. My girl's down.
Sheesh.
Shout out to Annalisa. She is.
That's important.
She's ride or die, and we take our 2 French bulldogs, which everybody at the show knows those two.
That's important.
Steve and Phyllis are always out with us, so we make a family event, and you see me around.
Definitely, that's important, guys. This girl is a ride or die, so
yeah, you
he's
gotta
able
have
to
that
hit some
support.
car
You
shows.
can't come home to frustration.
Definitely. So, wow. So you covered basically what made you pick the car to customize.
Yeah. It
wasn't
wasn't
planned.
initial. No, I didn't buy it to do what I did, and as I told you earlier in
Right.
another conversation, I really didn't know the blueprint to it. I had no idea there was such a BMW culture out there.
Right.
You know, I've always respected BMW and just thought, you know, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Who knew that, you know, the bolt-on option out there, that you could just start putting horsepower on the car like that, and everybody does it. Why haven't you already? And, you know, I just dove right in, and, you know, I floundered a lot, and we'll probably get to that kind of stuff too. But when you're ignorant, for lack of better words, to what you're going into, and with a lot of you just want to get it done, you make a lot of mistakes.
Of course. You're gonna make those mistakes. That's just normal. So that being said, I think it's time to show the people the car. You ready?
I agree.
Let's do
See
it.
it.
Sheesh! Here we go, people. This is the baby right here.
So she used to be silver.
She used to
Keep
be
that in
silver.
mind. She used to be silver. You'll see that. Different aspects I'll show you.
Really? Okay.
Yep. This is a nose attack wrap.
Beautiful. This is beautiful.
Midnight
right
gold, and the black is actually paint. So anything
Is that
is
right?
black.
The black is paint.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's a horror story behind that where we can get to in the front end as well.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's
Midnight
midnight gold. I'll
gold.
give a shout out to a nose attack.
Uh-huh.
You're not gonna find a gloss wrap like that. Nobody thinks it's a wrap when they walk up on it. Everyone thinks it's paint. But the reality is, it is high maintenance. You get a gloss level like that, every fingerprint, everything. You know, if you're anal about your car, it's hard. Like, I would go to probably a satin or a matte finish after living with this.
Really?
Yeah, it's nice to have it cleaned up.
It looks like that. Yeah, it looks beautiful.
It's hard to keep up.
The maintenance on it is crazy.
Yeah, so that's the big shell of it. That's where I dumped some coin on that. And you know what? I'll give props to Blast Brothers.
Okay.
That's the shop that did it. They have 2 locations, one in Warminster, one in Reading.
Okay.
I walked in, honestly, with a different mentality. I wanted almost a rust brown and a satin.
Okay.
And he said, you know what? I had this color for so long. You got to try. He gave me the swatch. I sat on it, and I said, you know what? Let's do it. This is really somebody else's genius on the fact that I ended up exactly where I did. You know, I've done all the accents and a lot of that stuff, but this color was really handy. It said, dude, you got to take a look. Now, there was a price tag involved in that because I went from one price that I was at, and this was not only what I didn't come in for, but considerably more money. But I got to say, again, for the performance of a wrap and how it came out, you know what? Probably was worth it.
It definitely looks like.
But word to the wise, anybody who thinks wraps are the end-all, be-all, vinyl wraps, when a wrap chips, what do?
You gotta rewrap it.
Yeah, you can't use touch-up paint. There's no easy, quick fix on a wrap. And like I told you, this car's silver underneath. So when you get a chip, like on the original hood, when it would chip, you can't imagine what a bright silver chip looks like coming out from underneath this.
That's true.
So I did learn that. But from my understanding, PPFs are taking over the world. The new PPF films, they now used to always be clear for the paint protection films that they offer that are bulletproof. Now they offer them in colors. So now you can essentially wrap and they're self-healing. You take the hairdryer to it, it'll take out all the scratches. Sunlight will do it at a certain temperature.
Really?
Completely self-healing.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have some PPF parts on this wrap just to keep them protected, but they now make it for a car wrap to do it in its entirety. I think it's going to take vinyl out of the picture. Yeah.
Y'all heard it here first, guys. That's an inside, information right there.
A lot of guys at a lot of shows and a lot of rap guys. So.
Did not know that. That's crazy. That's one thing I like to say, because the show is not only entertaining, but it's very informative. So when we get those little tidbits, that's a little plus and a bonus for my viewers out there. I appreciate that. So what else you got going on outside of the wrap?
18-inch. I got a daily. My biggest thing was suspension. I love a drop car.
Yes.
I love at least 20 minimum inch rims.
Right.
But I drive the car 50 miles a day, 75 miles a day on PA, New Jersey roads. I can't be on the side of the road all the time.
That's
so
true.
I went with a Bilstein Comp 8 shock with an HR lowering spring to get my height.
Okay.
And I went with an 18-inch rim because honestly, I gotta have some sidewall. You know, that's it'll beat you up, and I don't want to be left on the side of the road.
Definitely.
Performance-wise, of course, you got to go with the Michelins. Soft tire, but great. You got to watch the potholes will blow out the sidewalls on those too, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I'd love to have it bagged. I think that's probably one of my future things I want to do to this is put an air ride suspension on this.
Yes.
But I've known a couple guys lately that have had some issues in this series of a car with it. The way the bags are riding, the arms in the back, they're gripping the bags as they're inflating.
Really?
One guy that got left in Manhattan, shout out Furious M4, he, in the middle of Manhattan doing a photo shoot and whatnot, and he went to raise up, it ripped the bag, dropped it flat down, now he's in Times Square, got to get towed out of there by some wrecker, and this car's on the ground.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff, you drive the car a lot, you don't want to hear about that.
Definitely
don't undertake any of that. So
definitely not.
That's a lot of what you see on this is pushing what I can do practically on a daily basis. You know, the tuning, all that mods, everything is like cut to that point where it's got to still drive right to drive on the daily.
Practical, yeah.
So
you was right on the cuff, I would say, because
got
looking
a lot
at
of things, and listen, it's ready to go the rest of the way.
Nothing looks practical. Nothing looks practical.
Ready to go the rest of the way, but not yet.
Definitely.
So what else you want to see? What else can I tell you on the outside? We got all carbon fiber arrow on the underneath. We got canards on the front. This, we work into the bottom. This splitter, APR splitter, is the death of me.
Really?
It's beautiful. It's super practical, but nobody realizes the torque. This thing sits literally under the whole front end. It's almost like a half moon. It's like that wide.
Yes.
It's full carbon fiber, and I actually now have it bolted in 2 sections to the subframe.
Really?
Up through the bumper. Because when trying to mount it to the bumper, there's such downforce at high speeds, it starts to pull the bumper open and break it.
Are you
serious? This is my 3rd bumper, and this is actually reinforced with aluminum underneath it because it still tries to tug it down.
What?
It took me almost a year and a half to figure out how to mount that without it being a constant problem.
Wow.
And then when you hit something with it, obviously that drags a lot.
Exactly.
It used to pull down on the whole bumper. You know, like that would not only just pull on that lip. And quite frankly, I pulled that lip off going over, well, the cops aren't listening, but illegal speeds, and I didn't have it mounted right, and I came up over a hill, and it sucked it down right off the bottom of the car. I ran over it. I look in my rearview mirror, and it's flipping in the air.
What?
Like, I'd say 30, 35 feet, crashing down, and that's the same lip.
The lip, and that's the same lip you have on it right now?
That's this 3rd lip, because the other twice, I hit the reason why the car's black, we'll give you that. Driving home, I just got the motor done. Everything was done.
Yes.
I had the car for a month put together the way I wanted. It was full green. It wasn't, or full gold. It wasn't black.
Okay, no black on it.
No black on it. I was driving home with my girl, went to a trip in the Poconos at 5 minutes from my house, coming down 55, which you probably drove in on. Spare tire lane, right in the center road. I couldn't move over. Somebody was in the lane next to me. I literally jumped it. Ripped everything off the front of the car. Like the whole bumper. It actually, parts of the rubber flipped up and banged the hood. So that's why it's black, because I mentioned earlier when it was silver, all the chips in the front end would show through silver.
Right.
So my thought process is I'm going to paint it black now, so when I rewrap it and it gets chips in it, it'll be black underneath. It won't show through.
Yeah.
I painted it, and I didn't have a chance to wrap it yet, and I took it out a few times. That's a cool idea. See, I just did the gold on here and here. It used to just be straight black right over the top. So when you looked at the car from the front, it looked black until you walked around the side. And everybody said, that's cool. I said, yeah, I meant to do that.
Right.
So it stayed like that for a long time. And then I inevitably went back to the wrap shop and begged them for this here I did myself.
Nice.
That was the end of the wrap, original roll of wrap that they did the car. They just gave it to me. It had been a year and a half or so. So I took it home and did all these little detail parts.
Really?
Yeah, so that's
so hold on, this part right here, you did that yourself?
Yep, all myself.
Nice.
I did all the install on the exterior, so I'm fine exterior stuff.
Nice.
It's the motor work that
I
get intimidated by, man. I get more than 9 bolts off the engine. I start panicking. I never remember where that 10th, where's the 10th one go? You know?
Oh, no.
Yeah, I can build stuff, but in motor work, I know my place. We'll put it that way.
Nice.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Definitely. So what else you got going on? Is that you put those carbon fiber mirrors on as well?
Yeah, carbon fiber mirrors. I had carbon fiber on. The problem I have with a lot of carbon fiber on the market today is it just doesn't fit. You spend a lot of money for it, and they're molds, and whether those molds change over time in production, but a lot of carbon fiber stuff you spend good money for comes in and fits like bad. Like these are an example. I've been through 3 sets of these at almost $200 a pop.
Sheesh.
And I can't get them right. Now I got a glass pair and they're black. They're not carbon fiber. I can't get a carbon fiber on there to complete everything.
Right.
Like these are one of my most impressive ones that actually fit like a glove. And I thought there's no way those are going to work. Yeah. And those came in one time, took me forever to get, and they fit perfect. So you never know. I mean, I'll tell everybody, everything on the exterior of this is probably the 2nd or 3rd attempt.
Wow.
Skirts at least 3 times.
Wow.
And the other part is this body style with BMW isn't the sport body style. So a lot of the stuff I have to get, I go for the M4, the sport version, 2-door coupe of this. The whole front end is actually an M4 GTS, which is not this car. Would never be this car. So like I've kind of got myself pigeonholed in the fact that nothing is built directly for it, but there's a lot of stuff that will work.
That could work.
So in that arena, some stuff doesn't
2 or
work.
3 times. It could work after the 3rd try.
Yeah, after the 3rd one, you know exactly what you need.
Exactly.
And you talk to these parts people on the phone, the motor, you talk to parts people on the phone, and they kind of know, and well, you can do that. I was frustrated. I tell you early on, and spoke to a lot of shops, like, they'll sell you anything.
Right.
But at some point, when you're spending enough money, there should be somebody with enough advice on the other end of that line to make sure you're buying the right stuff.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not saying nobody didn't take anything back, but there was a lot of purchases that I made that, quite frankly, just didn't work from Jump Street. And like, you take it to the shop, and you're like, here, can you put this downpipe on? No, that's not even for this motor.
Right.
I bought 19 other parts from that same distributor who knows what motor I have, but yet sent me the wrong, and I was ignorant enough at that point. That's where you got to start learning.
Yeah.
It's either that or it forces you to learn.
Exactly.
And again, I'm not a gearhead, but I can talk mods all day because I've lived it by accident for the last 2.5 years.
By accident, you lived it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just trying to get to point B, and tripping all the way.
Listen, it's turning out. It's definitely turning out like a expertise work here.
Well, like I
Trials
said,
and tribulation.
Trials and tribulation.
Definitely.
It's taken on a lot of different color schemes. When I first had it, accents were all blue. There was nothing red and yellow. It was I had the blue bars on the front, the blue what are those called? Strut rods on the splitter. My brakes blue. Everything on the accents were blue, including like any of my stickers. It looked really cool, but when I went to black, I didn't like the black and blue. And everybody with BMW is all about the red, blue, and blue.
Yeah, that's the German one. You went
But
with
the
red
German
and yellow.
version, I said, you know what, now that works in my color scheme. So I flipped it over to that, which helped me go from, you'll see under the hood, and bring that in the inside. Because the hard thing is, you're doing something that the car was never on the outside. Trying to pull that back inside and then keep it, consistent under the hood. So aesthetically, keeping it all congruent with my big words.
Now, since we bought a hood of the car, I noticed there's a vented, like a hood scoop.
Yes.
So is that
Should we open it up?
Before we open it up, let me ask you, is it just cosmetic or is it functional?
I love the way it looks.
Yeah.
But you'll see the way I have my intake set up. That drops right on top of my intake. So I'm pulling as cool air through that constantly as much as I can.
Right.
So definitely it's functional.
Okay.
However, rain. It gets wet. Because my airbox, I have a removable top on it. So when I know the forecast, I'll keep it off. And it breathes better. I have all kinds of digital wear in there. You can read everything, and I know it does better on AITs. So I put it on if I know it's going to rain, though, because I don't run a filter that's weatherproof. I don't put a sock on it, and the rain will go right down. Now, if I'm moving forward, it won't go in it. But if I'm just sitting still and it rains on it, it's parked, it'll trickle right down there and right on top of the air filter and everything else. Can't have that. So it's one of those things where I keep the lid in my trunk, and if I know if there's an issue, I'll throw it on. But it is functional 95% of the time.
95%. And you got a wing on the back, too, right?
Yes, sir. That's my first mod. That's what started all this nonsense right here.
This right here, the wing?
That is it. I put that on the car and said, oh my goodness. What could this car be?
That was
That's
it right
simple,
there.
And you know what? That's the one piece of carbon that hasn't trashed out on me. I'm
Uh-huh.
telling you, there's something to it. It's been taken off and put back on how many times?
Yeah.
This is it. This is what started the whole nonsense.
It's a beauty. So you mentioned the interior. You have anything done to the interior?
I do. I have full carbon package. Anything I could find in carbon is done in carbon. Got the upgraded steering wheel. You're welcome to get in there.
Oh, wow.
With the digital readout on the steering wheel.
Oh, wow.
GPS connected.
Beauty.
So you can, if you want to turn around, you can hit the button and it'll light up for you probably.
That is nice.
So.
That is real nice.
It'll light up, or you gotta start it. I'm sorry, you can start it if you want.
Wow.
Put your foot on the brake. Brake. There you go.
Oh, I see it now, yeah. Wow, and it has the mile per hour and RPMs inside the actual.
It has temperatures, oil and engine, has turbo percentage and usage on the engine.
On the actual steering wheel. Wow, that's.
Now here's the irony. I have all these mounting gauges that tell me the same stuff.
Yes.
I put those on first, and then I got the steering wheel. They put the steering wheel. I said, oh my god. Because there's a story behind the boost gauge. Like, I need to know where I'm at on boost because my meth injection comes in at boost levels. So I had that installed, and then here the steering wheel came with the boost levels in it. So I have redundant.
Information.
Redundant gauges.
Wow. That's nice though. That setup is serious.
It's subtle. It's not crazy, but anything I can find in carbon is done in carbon.
Yes.
It's clean.
Super clean. Wow, I love it. Yeah, that's something right there. Carbon everywhere.
Those are the pieces that take forever. You just gotta live online, man.
Yes, basically.
And a lot of those don't work the first time. A lot.
Wow.
Double hit it.
That's nice. Sheesh.
I'd like to get
heard
some
the
red
monster.
M4 seats in there eventually, but the leather's still in decent shape. And again, when I put this on the shelf, I'm going to do some more things to it. But there's, again, a sense of practicality to it.
Right.
If I were to put some nice new leather custom seats in there, I don't want to get in and out of them 100 times a day, you know, and beat
That's
them
true.
up.
That's true. Wow.
But there you go. There's the color of the car.
Ah. Now I see. Yeah, so that would definitely be obvious. Thinking through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It might as well be
gray.
white.
Yeah, exactly. It might as well be white. Definitely. I see it, man. So did you touch anything audio-wise?
Audio I have left alone.
Okay.
I have aspirations. They make a great underseat woofer upgrade in this. But I you know what? I've been listening to that motor to save my life. Everything I've done, you just constantly listen to the motor. I really don't even listen to the radio that much in this car because as of lately. Originally, I swear for 6 months I didn't listen to a radio because I was so in tune with making sure everything sounded right. Because I've been in shock putting this thing back together for so long.
True.
Looking for that next odd noise.
Yes.
You know what put it in for the motor build was a spun bearing, which eventually messed up the rod, got up into the oil pump. I mean, it shelled the motor. But but when the bearing went, it made a small ticking noise. Well, that motor originally had issues with timing chains.
Really?
Timing chains would start to go and it would make a certain noise.
Okay.
Well, the motor prior, I did a lot of work to that motor, big turbo and everything else. You know, when I was pushing the limits, but it started making that tick. And everybody said, yeah, it's the timing chain, gotta get that done.
Yeah.
Timing chain was a big deal, but it's just a timing chain.
Right.
Well, it wasn't the timing chain, it was the bearings going. So we kept driving the car as normal, just knowing we had to get to the timing chain, and it actually, the bearings broke apart in the engine, got themselves all through it, and shelled the motor.
Oh, wow.
So when you talk about listening, and it was just that little tick, and I remember bringing it to my ex-brother-in-law, my guru on this stuff, and he's like, yeah, it's just faint. And it was, you could just barely hear it, but that was the start of those rings going bad. Had I jumped it then, could have dropped the pan, changed the bearings, and been okay. But Didn't get there. So, you know, that's why listening to the car.
Yes, that's
And
important.
gauges are another thing, like AFRs. Yeah, I run a very tight AFR, which is air-fuel ratio.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get a lot of power out of little motors. But
Right.
you can also burn up a motor really quick going 2 lean AFRs. Like I run a 12.4. Most people will go like, are you kidding? 12.4? Isn't that a little... I run 12.4, but I also get an injection kick in there with meth. But 12.4 is where that motor's tuned. And again, back to the daily thing, to run on a daily pretty well. But if I start to see those 12.4s get any higher,
Right.
I got to go, we got to figure something out.
Right.
And that gets into fueling, which is the one system I haven't upgraded because the fueling's competent right now.
Okay.
But if I want to get more power and go to even a bigger turbo, it's got to be in the fueling. So right now, I think I'm pushing the end of where my fueling can be with where it's set up. So I got to watch that. Again, I learned my lesson. You kind of let those noises go by. So again, I know I'm gun shy from a lot of shit gone down. Stuff gone down.
Right.
But yeah, you know, audio someday. Back to your original
right?
question. Back to your original
Someday.
question.
So my next question was going to be performance, but you kind of like
Touched on it.
touched on it a lot. Actually,
I'm big into tuning. I mean, it's
Yes.
XHP flash on the transmission, which I'll tell anybody, if you get your car tuned or start doing bolt-ons, XHP flash is it toggles through your OBD, and it flashes your transmission. It gives you the capability to adjust every aspect of your transmission, especially in the ZF.
Right.
ZF transmissions that go through BMW, they're very adjustable, and it's an 8-speed transmission, and you can put the power down any way you want.
Yeah.
I had this car tuned by 3 different places, stock tunes. The tune I'm running right now off of LabWorks is amazing, but none of it was where it is now until I got the transmission right.
Okay.
To be able to put the power down the way you want, because my power may not be the same that you like.
Right.
You know, and that it's where the power's in the motor, now it's putting it to the ground, and that's where the XHP flash kind of goes, you do it how you want. Like you can set rev limits on every gear, you can hold your downshifts, everything about it, and it's an automatic transmission.
Right.
But you can do all that, and it lets you manually do it. So XHP flash, boot mode 3, BM3, Pro Tuning Freaks is my tuning platform. LabWorks, a local shop in Cherry Hill, did my turbo, my tune, and the meth injection in the back, which we'll probably get to. Those guys are the best. I would send anybody there. I had the original motor tuned by Castle Performance in York.
Okay.
And then the motor build was Thai Speed, and I can't say enough, Thai Speed all the way.
Can we see it? Can we see like?
What do you want to say first?
I want to see the
meth?
injection. Yeah.
So, the meth injection, I'm lucky for this series of car, comes with a company called Berger Motorsports, makes what they call a stealth tank.
Wow.
So right there is meth, it's boost juice, essentially 50% methanol, 50% water. That tank runs through there, through the car, out to the front, and injects into the charge pipe on turbo. So what happens is, sorry, I'm going to show you the controller that controls that. So over here, if you want to look at that, this is an AEM system.
Okay.
And what those knobs do is control when that kicks in at boost points.
Okay.
So I have 2 kicks. In other words, the first kick comes on at, say, 10 pounds of boost. The second kick comes on at 20 pounds. So you're at full kick. So in other words, it's like a half step and a full step.
Okay.
And you can control that. You can move that up and down. Like in the summer months, I want to run more meth because it cools it down. I'll drop those boost points. Because I mentioned earlier having the boost gauge. That's why I want to know where I'm at in my boost, because I want to know when that's kicking in. But the cool thing about methanol and how it's injected is the car knows to back the regular fueling out, because all it senses is air-fuel ratio, like we explained earlier.
Right.
That stays 12.4. Well, if you shoot meth in there, that's going to make that go lower, so the car will cut the fueling to make the air-fuel ratio go up, because it doesn't know if that's fuel or if it's the methanol.
Right.
So that was the thing going into it. I'm like, how in the world can you control all that?
Right.
And it's actually the brain of the car that will control it, because it just has fuel in there. It doesn't know where it came from. It'll just start backing down the fuel. Oh, the AFRs are too low. We need to bring them up.
Yeah.
We'll start cutting the fuel. But meanwhile, the methanol's in there.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. But then you get it tuned right. And again, all this stuff has to be tuned.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to spend a lot of money on bolt-ons. You can get $3-4 grand deep, easy, quick on bolt-ons.
Right.
And really you'll get some power, horsepower for sure, but until you get it tuned, and maybe beyond a stage 1, stage 2 platform tune, that's when you'll get the most out of your car. And you can get greedy, but most tuners anymore are smart enough to tell you when to stop.
Okay.
You know, everybody wants to pull major power off the dyno, and you know, you got to know when's when.
Enough.
And the other thing is, it's what are you driving it for? If you're driving it to go straight at 180 miles an hour, doing a 9-second pull on a quarter mile, that's a different driver than one that just needs to drive around town consistently. So,
definitely,
there's a lot of things where the control values are a lot, and sometimes too much. I think.
Definitely. Can we see the motor?
Absolutely.
Definitely. Sheesh. Now I see what you're talking about. And this is a 4-cylinder?
Yep.
Are you serious?
This is an N26. There's an N20, N26, which are pretty much sister motors. The irony is this motor was originally put out as their low emissions motor.
Really?
Yeah, it's not really an N26 anymore because it's all new block and head, all S55 parts, which is the 6-cylinder. So when I did this motor, I had to buy 6 of everything. So if anybody out there needs 2 extra pistons and 2 extra sets of rings and everything else, but yeah, it worked out to where we found again the blueprint from Australia. Really, this is one of the few stateside that we know of.
Wow.
That someone, call it what you want, was dumb enough to put this much money into rebuilding one of these motors. So
gosh,
it's about 25,000 miles in right now. It's definitely broken in. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's everything I need it to be. And the motor's rated way higher than what I'm doing. I have a stage 2 turbo right now that's running at a 94% duty cycle, which means 94% of what it's got.
Okay.
And I'm putting out about 25, 26 pounds.
Okay.
The car will handle much more, but I'm topped out on that turbo, and changing that turbo means I got to bring it out of the location, which means new headers and everything else, and probably do a top mount. That's not the end of the world, but then it gets into fueling. Like, my fueling handles what that next size up turbo puts out.
Okay.
And I tried to stay away from fueling just because, that gets into a whole another arena.
Animal right there.
Yeah, so unless you got the demand for the fueling, I try to leave it the way it was. So that's the next step. A simple step that I probably will take is upgrade some of the fueling. And no EMAP for me. I don't run E85 or E50 maps.
Okay.
Just because I think it's hard on the car, and I don't have the right conversions done on it yet.
Gotcha.
Now with the meth injection, my tuner will tell you I'm running on about a timing scale of about an E15 map because of the amount of methanol that kicks in during, but I'm not on a true E map where you'd be an E50, even an E30 map. So there's conversions, like I said, different injectors, and I'd like to have a different high pressure fuel pump before I did that. So.
Gotcha.
And again, keep it on the daily. Do I need to be running methanol?
Exactly.
I don't know.
So that being said, what was your most expensive mod?
I don't know if Tie Speed wants me to put it out there, but again, Tie Speed, I live and die by these guys. Hands down the motor.
Okay.
And honestly, it's probably one of those things that I would do different.
And that was my next question. If you had to do something differently, it would be the motor?
Yeah, and again, I've kind of just being in the culture now. I'm gonna LS swap something. I want to do an LS swap, and it may be this car.
Okay.
My original plan was to go get an E46, like 2004 version BMW coupe, and ride that as my daily and build an LS motor off to the side and swap that. But the more I think about it, I think a 6-liter in this car with some more and a manual transmission swap would be amazing. And I just want to start building the motor. I want to build the LS, and an LS motor is simple enough that I can build it. So I want to put one on a stand and figure out where I'm going to put it, but the next car I do will not have all this electrical interface because that's the problem. Like, I want an older car where it's simple. If I were to do that in this car, it would be a 4-bar map, a standalone ECU, take everything out of the car's initial thought process, and do it standalone. I control you. Because the car will fight you. Inevitably, and tuners will tell you that. They can tell the car where to go, but the car still has variables about where it thinks it'll go. You can't tell a car to go exactly to point B because the car has other factors to configure, and unless you go through every one of those factors and and moot that, for better words, it's still going to alter, and cars will fight you. Like, my biggest thing with the new motor, it would put me into what they call limp mode all the time because on the screen it would read unrecognized torque values. It's got a brand new big motor in it, and the computer doesn't understand it. Doesn't understand where to put that. That's not right. Something's wrong because the torque values are it's right. It's good. The torque values are that high, but now we got to tell the computer what to do. So it's things like that when you get in, and that's what I didn't know.
Right.
Like I thought 2015, it's old enough. That's not new technology. Listen, that technology goes to like 2009, 2007 in BMW,
Right.
even sooner. And you know, I like to stay away from next round for my own sanity.
Definitely. How long have you been working on this? Speaking of years.
About 2.5 years, 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
So wait a minute. 2.5 years ago, this car was just a stock.
Stock. Yep. Again, here's the color. Yep.
Wow, that's crazy.
I didn't have the car. I would say
That's
last
crazy.
year, probably 6 months of the year. With the
yeah?
motor replacement.
Okay.
Put the motor replacement. We had a flywheel. It destroyed the flywheel. The second we put it in, that was down for another chunk of time. I mean, it was a while.
It was a wow.
It was a while. It was a headache. And I'm sure every car guy has those same stories for sure.
Yes, yes. And you said that this is like you've been saying the whole time. This is your daily.
My daily.
So how'd you make it through for 6 months? You had a
Rented my girl. Thank God. We were close to each other, so I would drop her off in the morning.
Right.
Car.
Right.
Rented for a long time, and then COVID got so bad that rentals. You remember the price of a rental car went incredible.
Exactly.
Because everybody was renting cars all of a sudden.
That's true.
So you know, again, I did a lot of this, and that was another issue with parts. I did that build in the dead of COVID. Like every time it came to buying a new set of rings or new, but now it's like, oh, we don't even know if they're going to be able to send this stuff.
Exactly. From Germany?
Yeah,
or wherever
I mean,
it was coming
and
from?
it came from everywhere, and they
Jeez.
pulled parts from everywhere, and a lot of it was what was open.
Exactly.
You know, and I'm, as a daily, dying for the car back.
Right.
And Tie Speed's telling me, listen, this is something the guy does on the side. I'm not under this kind of constraints normally. Like, we're doing something completely out of the norm. That's never been done before. In the middle of COVID, where you can't get parts.
Can't get no parts.
And you're up my
you're
bottom
pressing them
because
like,
you want
listen,
it back
I need
in
the
2
car. When
seconds.
is the
That's
car
not how this
getting
all
done?
works. So then you got to take a step back and breathe and just do what you got to do. But
That's so true.
yeah, it's nice to have it back.
That's so true. Well, you kind of covered the next plans for the car. I know you want to do the swap.
I do want to do the swap.
So,
and I don't know if that'll be sooner than later, but it's $25,000 on a motor that I have yet to really push far enough yet. So we'll do some with this for a while.
Right.
We got the Pocono Impact Show coming up first weekend in October, which is a big BMW thing. Take a look at Pocono Raceway. I'm not going to do any roll racing, but the cool thing about that show is all the guys with I think they got fast Beamers. They get on the track and do roll races and full pulls, and everybody can race each other. Big bracket, like you get to see these street cars. That's cool.
On the track.
On the track.
Get busy.
Yep. So that's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah.
I could imagine. All right. Well, before we wrap it up, is there any social media or anybody you want to shout out before we shut it down?
I'll give you my list. It would definitely be Tie Speed, Vimmer Service by Tie Speed, LabWorks Development in Cherry Hill with the tuning and the turbo, Blast Brothers for sure with the wrap. And I don't want to get any deeper than that. Those are the 3 shops that really hooked me up. I mean, couldn't have done it without it for sure.
Definitely. Well, it was my pleasure. Thank you for having me come down.
It was my pleasure, man.
Definitely love the car. So guys, I promised y'all something, and I definitely delivered. This car right here is one of a kind, people. But it's not gonna stop here. It's gonna keep coming. With that being said, make sure y'all subscribe to the channel, Regular Guyz.Eregular Cars. Follow me on Instagram, Regular Guyz.Eregular Cars, so you can know what's coming up next. People, don't forget, like the video, leave a comment. Like I always say, love y'all. Peace.